Exactly that today. But before we go any further, we're going to look back once more on what Frank has described as, what did you say, the best game you've seen for a long time?
Yes.
How long? Quite a while. It's definitely the game of the season, isn't it?
Yes, for sure. And we've seen some good games this season. But in terms of two teams bringing something to the table in their different styles, shots, goalkeeper, everything, it was brilliant, really entertaining.
You are a brave man, on your feet, banging on the glass, cheering on United, about 5 feet away from a few hundred Arsenal fans.
Well, they couldn't get in here, could they? We're locked in, so I can say what I wanted.
And also, we've got Leo.
Yeah, exactly.
And I tell you, if someone comes through that door and Leo is in here, they're in a world of trouble. Right. Leo, should we just show people Leo? Because he does do every game with us. No, we can't show Leo. We can't show Leo. Right, let's hear from the fans then. This is what they made of what was a truly remarkable game here at the Emirates.
Absolutely gutted the way we lost that football match. So on top throughout the whole game, 2 stupid mistakes in the first 10 minutes, and we did really, really well to get back into it. I had a plethora of chances, Lacazette, I mean, Sanchez as well, when he was miraculously saved by De Gea. And then Man United just took all their chances. Fair play to them. They won a really, really entertaining game of football. But what can you do? We haven't got anything out of that, and it's really, really frustrating.
So Manchester United have beaten Arsenal 3-1 at the Emirates. That was despite Paul Pogba getting sent off towards the end, and he's going to be a huge, huge miss in the derby. But enough of that. This was a great day for Manchester United today. We had to come here and win, and we did just that. Few notable mentions. I can't give one man of the match. Jesse Lingard, often criticised, often people don't want him in the starting 11. He starts today, he grabs 2 goals to win us the game. David De Gea, he's the best goalkeeper in the world without a doubt. I don't want to hear any arguments. He's the best goalkeeper, and that is for sure. Manchester United have got a bit of momentum now going into this derby. Let's beat City.
United fans are leaving here buzzing. Could have been very different, you know, because there was what you would probably describe as a stonewall penalty that Arsenal didn't win just down here with a few minutes left. And that completely changes the narrative of the last few minutes, doesn't it?
Well, Danny Welbeck was a definite foul. Darmian catches him just beneath us here. And it was so frantic in the game that Arsenal were in a rush to get a goal that nobody actually even appealed. And we saw the replay on it, and it's a stonewall penalty. And the referee unfortunately missed it.
You thought maybe he got up too quickly, didn't you?
Yeah, it's going to make me sound bad now. But you want to win a game. Yeah. You get brought down. He knows he's had contact. If you give the referee 2 or 3 or 4 seconds, sometimes they need that to digest it, and then they give it. The minute you jump up, they maybe think, oh, he's up, because he doesn't think, there wasn't the contact I thought there was. I think maybe you stayed up. I don't know. I mean, we have to congratulate his intentions of trying to get up and carrying on.
I think it would impact the thinking of a referee, wouldn't it?
I would have been screaming at him if I was on his team out there today. I'd been saying, "What are you getting up for? He's kicked you. Lay on the floor."
Rio's less bothered about saying it, obviously.
Yeah, I was trying to be diplomatic there.
Exactly.
I would have said it. In training even, I used to go, mad, if he's kicked you and we've got a penalty, it's a penalty, go down and stay down.
Frank makes a good point, because it completes the picture, doesn't it, for the referee? Yeah. And it didn't go with the impact, the tackle. He's suddenly on his feet again. Oh, there couldn't have been a penalty, play on. And maybe Danny Welbeck was too honest.
Let's go to Graham, actually. Genuine honesty from the players in here, so we need some more from you now, Graham. If you're a referee and you see a player hop back up on their feet that quickly, does it impact your decision?
Some referees it does and some it doesn't. To be honest with you, I used to be a gut feel penalty guy, so if I see it instantly, I'd give it. So whether he stays down, jumps up, I'm kind of going on the gut feel. For me on this decision, it's more about Simon Beck, who's the assistant who's looking straight at this, because Mariner's a distance away with not the best angle. And Simon's looking straight at it. The same view as I think you've got from your box, and he really should be helping him with that. He's done really well on offsides, but I think he could have helped Andre a lot more with that decision.
All right, thanks, Graham. OK, should we move this on then and talk about the rivalry, the classic rivalry between Arsenal and Manchester United? We've had a couple of fans talk about the moment that really stands out for them. Let's hear from Sophia and Mike first, and then we'll discuss it here in the studio.
My favourite game was the Battle of Old Trafford, where Van Nistelrooy dived, Vieira got sent off, he then missed the penalty, and then Keown gave him grief to his face. It was brilliant. I wish we had that kind of rivalry now.
Definitely Keane bossing Vieira in the Arsenal tunnel is another one. Absolutely stands out. But the main one has got to be Giggs tearing Arsenal to pieces at Villa Park in the semi-final replay. That wave of Wizards one that absolutely tore them to pieces will always be the one, Ryan Giggs.
OK, well, let's have a look at the timeline of this rivalry between these two sides. And you were kind of at the very heart of all of this unfolding, weren't you, Martin, as you traded blows season after season?
Well, I think the first 7 seasons, they won 4 titles, we won 3. And really, they had a massive dominance, Manchester United. There was an aura. You didn't even get a penalty, never mind could score a goal at Old Trafford. For years, it became Fergie time. They were a power base in the game, and we had to change that big time. It was almost like there was propaganda as another force. And when we came head-to-head with them, if I looked around my dressing room, and I would often say, look around, you won't see better players. It'd taken me a lifetime to get to that level with those group of players, World Cup winners, tremendous, with great ability. The head-to-head was great. It was what was done after that. We couldn't necessarily match. They had a spell over the rest of the Premier League because everybody was fearful of Manchester United. We changed that dominance and we snatched it away from them. And let's not forget, 99, they won the treble, Manchester United. They've won everything. And then around that time, 2002, we sort of took it away from them, won the league there, went unbeaten. But the unbeaten, actually, I mean, was a disappointing season because Chelsea, Frank, I believe, was involved then. They beat us in the Champions League. We went out of the semi-final of the FA Cup. So you'll look back and feel that Arsenal really should have won more trophies in that period, but we were having to fight against what was an outstanding Manchester United team.
You must love to hear Martin talk like that, when he talks about a propaganda and a spell over the rest of the Premier League and Fergie time and all the other things that were created in the era that you were at Old Trafford. I mean, that's what you strive to be as a footballer, isn't it? Basically, psychologically breaking down other Premier League players so that here we are 20 years later and Martin can still recall those feelings in an instant. Job done. Yeah, that is part of it, definitely, but I think it's... In that time, there was a period of transition as well, because the Man United team of the treble-winning team changed 2002-ish. I come to United, and it wasn't the dominance that had been before in '99, etc. Arsenal started to win a few trophies, and then I remember Sir Alex Ferguson saying to me, "Stick with it, I'll get this right." And he then created another team, and we won 4 championships on the bounce. And that dominance comes, and what happens is, that sense of fear does set through the league, because you stand in the tunnel. Frank would have felt it with his Chelsea team as well. You stand in that tunnel and you look across the line and you can see fear. You can sense it in the tunnel before you even kick the ball. In the warm-up, you can sense it around the stadium and people anticipating their team getting beat. We were playing Leicester and they'd all be asking for Dennis Bergkamp's shirt before the game. And you've won the game. 3 points. And I don't think I ever swapped shirts with any player. They didn't want your shirt, did they? Nobody wanted it. I used to keep them, give them to my brother. You are a disgrace on the show. He's out of order. Totally out of order. Did you ever feel fear in the tunnel looking across at someone else?
Well, fear worried about them? Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Which team?
The Barcelona team.
Yeah, they were quite good.
Nou Camp. It was fear every time we played them. But it was a respect as well. What I love about this rivalry here is personality. You know, like it's an era where you can remember the Roy Keane moment and Vieira going up against each other, players caring for the club, and of course players care for the club these days. But that was a massive time, you know, of looking at people. You could see the dislike for each other. That's what we're here for.
I remember being in the change room. I remember Gary Neville coming and saying, like, someone's hit me or something, and then it just kind of got glossed over. And then we went out in the tunnel, and that tunnel at Highbury used to be tight, so it was like touch tight, us and them, straight away. Nothing in between, no space, you couldn't breathe really in there, could you? And then all of a sudden I just heard a bit of a rumbling at the front and Roy was just going bananas, pointing and everything. And I never really got a gist of what happened until after the game when we see the pictures. But I remember it just filtering down the line, right, we go out there, we've run over these.
Did you nearly
get the result? I did nearly swear, yeah, but it was said in a bit more
self-editing. Well, it was a tough game. Let's go to the man who was at the front. I mean, you were a few bodies back, just having a little look. But right in the middle of all of this was Graham Poll. What are your memories of this, Graham? When did you first sort of start to realise that this wasn't going to be a usual pre-match lineup in the tunnel?
You knew straight away. I mean, I pressed the bell to get the teams out. They wouldn't come out. We knew it had followed Pizzagate, and there was going to be a tough game. The warm-ups, you could sense the players weren't their normal selves. It was tense. And certainly once I got the teams out, I went to walk down with Patrick Vieira to get him into the tunnel, and you go down that little chicane into down the steps down the old Highbury tunnel. And when I looked round next, Patrick had gone. Thierry Henry was next to me, and the next thing, as Rio said, you just hear this noise go up at the top of the tunnel. You think, what is that? And you just react to gut. I mean, I'm not trained to deal with stuff in a tunnel, and I just pushed my way up, very tight, getting past the players, and you could just see that Keane had arrived. to save Gary Neville from Patrick Vieira, and that showed you that I think Man United were kind of more team-based. Patrick was left on his own, and I think that was a key moment in that whole match.
You'd left recently, hadn't you? And before that, you were telling us that you were a little bit of a sort of protector for Patrick.
Well, I felt I needed to protect him because if you look, he got sent off. Yeah. Roddick sent him off. People would target him. Cantona came for him. There was one or two players that would actually go after him a little bit. And Di Canio, if you remember the Di Canio incident. So I felt one of us, Patrick, for us to win something was really key to what we need. So I needed to get in between and protect him a little bit. And I feel he was brought up on that tit for tat thing where a little bit like the playground, but you have to look and you have to bully each other, protect each other and get around. I mean, that came in the early days with George Graham, when George Graham was saying that we were all too nice and we needed to get around their players. They were trying to influence the referee. I mean, I remember a penalty given to Manchester United against Middlesbrough back in the day, and the referee was just harangued, and he was frightened to give it. I mean, it was rare that you got a penalty at Manchester United, and it was a case of challenging. It's not a good message to young kids, but you get round, you question every decision, and you battle for everything, and it starts in the tunnel.
But you must
that happens. That becomes the DNA of a football club, I think, because it happens in training. You challenge the referee, challenge every decision. You try and sway referees' decisions in terms of the volume, the way you approach them. And I'm not condoning that, but it was just that the part of the way it was that no decision could go without you having a say on trying to sway a referee. And you'd be in a tunnel, you see the name of the referee on the paper, on the team sheet, and you'd think, all right, I know how to approach him. I know how to pressure him for a result. I know how far I can go. And we were talking before about it. It was an important part of the game. You don't really see it so much now because of the big respect campaigns, etc. So that's understandable.
How much from Roy Keane personally? Because I just think of Roy Keane when I think of that sort of spirit and that.
He was in training. He wasn't really like that, but you get to a game situation and he became a different animal. And he was so intense and he was so demanding. And the great thing about him as a captain, even when his powers were on the wane, he was so demanding of standards around the training ground and on the pitch during that 90 minutes. And if you didn't live up to the standards, he would tell you no answer.
You see now, don't you, they pick an all-time great Manchester United team and you ask other players to pick it. I don't know if he was that popular because he doesn't seem to get into many of the teams because he was, for me, their driving force. He was the one who wanted the ball, demanded it, in a different way to Patrick Vieira, who I felt was actually, pound for pound, and Man United fans won't agree, I thought Vieira was ahead of him. But Roy Keane he meant everything to him. He was a real driver, great player, by the way. Everything was two-touch, could score goals, and he was a big match winner for them.
The thing with Roy Keane is he influenced his other teammates. He demanded a 7 minimum out of players. The manager done it. Then he had his lieutenant on the pitch who would go out there and make sure he implemented that.
And going back to the incident, Graham, you've just heard the guys talking about influencing the referee or making sure that they put themselves in a position to get what they wanted from the game. When this started to kick off in the tunnel, you must have immediately not been worrying as much about what's happening in the tunnel and more about, how do I assert my authority so this doesn't carry on out there in front of the world's media?
Well, I was happy once I got them onto the field of play and in front of the world's media. I was happy with my experience level to be able to control them. So, the famous, I'm heard shouting, "No more in here, take it out on the pitch." I just want to get them out there, and then I can actually deal with it properly. Because in the tunnel, you can't. It's weird. And the guys were talking earlier about intimidation. When you're a new referee, you are intimidated. Don't be under any illusions. You go up to Old Trafford back in the day when Sir Alex was there, it was scary. You knew you were in for a tough time. If you gave a decision that was 50-50, you would get battered. You would get battered by him, and that, I'm glad to say, that doesn't happen anymore. There's, as you say, certain respect campaigns come in, but it was after you'd done them 10, 20 times that you stopped that intimidation. You were strong enough to do it. And, once I went up before the game, up the tunnel at Old Trafford to see Alex and said to him, "It's me today." And he said, "Yeah, I know what to expect." And it F all, basically, was what he expected from me. And I was happy with that because I said, that's what you're going to get. And we went out and we respected each other from that. Probably didn't like each other, but we respected each other.
How close in that incident did you get to sending either or both of them off?
Well,
before the game even started?
I was fully focused on getting them out. And then the fourth official, Rob Stiles, came to me and said, "Look, if you're going to take any disciplinary action, you've got to do it now. You can't start play. Once you've started, the moment's gone." And I said, "Well, technically I could send them both off. in which case we would replace them with substitutes and start 11 aside anyway. But I wanted those two characters on the field of play. Those two captains could help me in certain situations. The game was going to be tough enough as it was, and it might sound odd, but actually Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira helped referees in certain situations.
Right. And what was it like once the game got going? Can you remember it being particularly fiery for the first few minutes after all that?
Yeah, you could feel it. It was, and the fans were none the wiser really, but you could sense it within the players, and there was a steeliness and there was a determination set within our group of players. I don't know about the Arsenal team. We actually went 1-0 down in that game, and I think, if I remember rightly, but it wasn't a feeling of panic. It was a feeling of, like, we know we'll get back into this, and things like that in a tunnel can really help paint the picture before the game's even started of the outcome.
I found it actually easier at Old Trafford. You know, not to blow my own trumpet, but I won there 5 times. Now, in that era...
You've just blown your own trumpet.
Well, let's make the point. Who won 5 times there during their playing career in that particular period? Yeah, so, but only because I was...
He's going to jump in your face in a minute, Rio. Watch out.
Only because I was listen, I had a fantastic team as well. But to give you some idea of Sir Alex Ferguson's influence, just on an England front, just taking it, we were landing from away trips at Luton Airport, and Sir Alex Ferguson said, no, I want us to land in Manchester. And in the end, we landed in Manchester because he felt that there was more players in the northwest of England. That man had his foot in every camp. Yeah. And so when you played him on a Saturday, when it was my turn to play against him, I made sure after the semi-final of the FA Cup, where he really got into the face of the referee that evening, that I would never allow him that comfort again. So I was straight in the tunnel looking for Sir Alex Ferguson, making sure that I was covering.
He's gone after Sir Alex.
He's a pensioner.
I felt I needed to block his pathway to the referee to make it fair.
So what would you do then? The game's finished.
Half-time.
So Sir Alex comes in. What do you...
I'll wait to see if he's going to react with the referee.
And if he does?
Then I'll have to step in and just...
Security.
I'm not going to beat up an old man. I'm just going to ferry him away from the referee.
He wouldn't allow you to ferry him away from the referee, would he?
That's why
he'd have to, wouldn't he?
This is why he used to go off in the tunnel. How many times we used to go off in the tunnel when we used to play?
There was great rivalry. Listen, we have to say there was great respect. They were great Grumshire players, unbelievable. They were trying to take away. Now, if they weren't there, then Arsenal might have had 2 back-to-back.
Did you ever successfully ferry Sir Alex away from a referee?
No, because I didn't necessarily need to do it. I just kept an eye on it. But what I saw...
That's what the good security men do.
That's the sign of good security.
They don't get physical.
But in that semi-final, the referee that day, I think...
That's good. I'll shoot over there.
The referee had fear in his eyes. And when Sir Alex lost it, I wasn't in his dressing room, but I could not believe the fury at which he went after this referee. And I thought, well, I can't allow that to happen again.
You're gold dust on this show. Deep in conversation still. Welcome back. Degsy sent us a message saying this is hilarious tonight. Premier League Tonight is the best football show on TV. Thanks for that. Daniel says Martin Keown is TV gold. And Earl of Fontham, man, Premier League Tonight is such a great show. I love hearing all the odd stories from the top class players. So you've already blown your own trumpet telling us that you won 5 times at Old Trafford. I mean, is that a record bettered by anyone?
No idea.
Frank Lampard won 6 times at Old Trafford.
Told you.
But see, Mark,
Thanks to the stats guys that have been working on that during the break.
I haven't mentioned it once.
Well, that's remarkable.
Isn't it?
I thought Man United were dominating in that period.
Not when Frank was involved.
I'm talking about in that period when they were at their most successful.
Oh, in that exact period that you played? Anyone else?
Exactly.
Get the boys on that one.
One on Frank. He can blow his own trumpet, we'll blow yours. That's fair.
Pardon?
Thank you.
Whoa. What show is this?
Let's talk about Pizzagate. Yeah. You were involved.
No,
you were there.
I was there. Yeah, I was there.
Tell us what happened.
I was walking up the tunnel with Sol Campbell actually at the time, and then I think Sir Alex Ferguson walked past their changing room, and there'd been an argument. There'd been a contentious decision. Yeah. Everyone screaming and shouting, and then someone obviously threw a bit of pizza, and it must have either hit the manager or not. Whatever's happened. As I've turned turned the corner, we just saw a melee of players. And the Arsenal dressing room before ours. So all the Arsenal players are this side. So I'm trying to move people out of the way to get through, and I'm like to get to my side, and then it just kicked off. It was just going mad, and I think the manager was being held by security, so he couldn't get back down the tunnel. It was mental, but that's what was part and parcel of playing against Arsenal at that time. There was always something in a game during the 90 minutes, or at half time or full time, that something happened where players were come together. Security were getting thrown out of the way. It was funny. It
was interesting because Arsene Wenger was a very calm individual, and he very quickly got caught up in that melee with Sir Alex Ferguson. And it's almost really when they became buddies, then I realised that some of that had gone for Arsenal, because when they were real there was a massive rivalry between them. Wenger's about now to eclipse him with the number of Premier League games he's amassed. Longevity was incredible. Wenger's been doing this now for a long time. But when they disliked each other, I thought that's when the rivalry was at its best. And as soon as they were beating Arsenal regularly, then there was a coming together and a friendship that was developed. And of course, that was a show of respect. And I thought it was right at the top of our game that the two figureheads should be friends and should get on. But I think I preferred it when
they only became friends, Martin, when Sir Alex Ferguson didn't see Arsenal as a threat.
Correct.
As soon as Arsenal were a threat at any point, the guns were out again. And he'd done that with Rafa Benitez at Liverpool. There was a little period of time with Mourinho, there was a little bit, but then Mourinho kind of diffused the situation completely and he played it well. But anyone who came with Keegan, anyone who came into battle and was having an opportunity to try and win the league and take that from Sir Alex Ferguson, which he probably considers his own trophy, the guns came out and he was going to war.
Interesting. Seska's come out and admitted, hasn't he, that he threw the pizza. Did he talk about that ever at Chelsea? Was that a surprise to you?
I wasn't with Seska at Chelsea.
Oh, yeah?
No. Done your research,
they basically let me go to bring him in.
6 times he won at Old Trafford. Do your research.
Shut up.
He got released. Ses came and he got released.
Yeah, they let me go to get Ses, because me and Ses never really got on swell on the pitch either, so I think they thought there was no way we'd share a dressing room.
They weren't sharing pizza, though.
It was bang out of order. It was bang out of order. You can't
it's a bit awkward, isn't it?
Pizza.
Did you know it was him?
There were whispers, it came out quite quickly within our dressing room that we thought it would have been him.
There's a rumour it was a Spaniard with very good technique.
Yeah.
With a frisbee.
It was bad.
From distance.
And what was Sir Alex like just afterwards?
But you know what it instilled an even greater fire within the players. Because we found that as being disrespectful. Our manager, what he's done in the game, you don't throw food at him. Do you know what I mean? If you've got a problem, you meet it head on. But the disrespect we found, and that's why when we came here, and certain players would talk in the media would say things that would probably antagonise the Arsenal team, that in terms of we're going to be physically dominant, we're going to overrun this team. And that's the way it was for a period of time on the back of that disrespect.
Let's blame Cesc Fabregas then.
I think with the manager, it's right though. Throwing something at the manager, throwing something anyway is a little bit disrespectful, but a manager, as a player, you would feel...
Yeah.
We want to defend our manager.
Exactly.
It's a step too far.
When you were playing, and you were playing either Arsenal or Manchester United, which of the two, Arsene Wenger or Sir Alex, did you find the most intimidating, if either?
Well, obviously, Sir Alex. I really like Arsene Wenger. I've got huge respect for him. I think he's got a different persona, different demeanour. Yeah. Sir Alex, to let you know. I remember one time we played Jews up there, and the dressing room, our dressing room was near his opposite
office.
The manager's, and I remember him telling you off once.
Me?
Ferdinand! He shouted. And then I saw Rio just walking along.
You walking like that?
Down.
And he would have known that our Chelsea team were in the earshot. Yeah. He was just in his own world. He ran the place. So, you just
never knew what was coming. If he called you to his office, it was like being head teacher. You call you to his office and you think... You look around and everyone would start laughing at you and you're going, oh my God, what have I done now? And you start trying to think, what have I done? What have I stepped out of line anywhere? And you get in there, and I think that time it was like, are you ready today? And he used to say things sometimes. I remember we played against Newcastle and he come past me on the coach. It was away at St James. He slapped me on the head. I'm like a grown man. I'm thinking, what are you doing? And he went, Craig Bellamy's been talking about you. He's told a few people that he's going to destroy you today. Are you ready for that? Don't come back on the coach if he's destroyed you. And I went out and...
He destroyed you.
He was in here somewhere. I brought him on the bus or like that. No, not really, no. He was, but little things like that to really get his players going and to stoke players up, and he just knew how to press buttons. It's great management.
How does that compare to how Arsenal would have been ahead of a really big game?
Arsenal was quite different. He created sort of an environment of invincibility. We'd be playing the music Simply the Best as we'd rock up at a stage.
What am I hearing here?
Week 10 we thought we were the best. It was kind of like...
Tina Turner on your desk.
Yeah, but it's a belief.
It's your playlist.
So those wins were inspired by Tina Turner. That's
pretty well.
Was you dropping moves in there?
You know me, I was always dropping
You had a doze on that, didn't you?
Do a little bit. But you'd turn up at the ground, away game, buzzing, thinking, and you just floated off the bus. Yeah. He creates a feeling of belief. And you're invincible, okay, and they did that in the end. And he started to talk about going unbeaten, which we thought was absurd and was only create an extra pressure. But it's not that individual pointing of the finger to drag out a performance, which it seems Sir Alex Ferguson did. This was more of a collective gain that he got from the group, and it was boy was he successful when he was in his prime. I don't know if he's gone past his best, but I don't necessarily know if the players are as good as now as they were then.
I think even the players now, I think that's an element that they lack.
Yeah.
They lack somebody in that change room to go and grab them and say, right, I demand this now.
Yeah.
I demand this week in, week out from you. That the performance I've seen today, why has that not been here? Why is that 1 in every 12, 15 games? That needs to come out every game or you're out. And I think that balance is key to getting that, yeah.
What about Jose? For those big games, those big weeks building up to a sort of huge title-defining crash, what was he like around the place?
Similar to Sir Alex, little bits there, little messages to players, messages in the press conference. Everything was heightened in training, specific, what we're going to do to them. He'd wind you up a little bit, prod you and poke you if there was something in the press about what they'd said about this or that. All those little, mind games alongside all the great tactics
and come to you individually and do a sort of Sir Alex type thing just to get you honed in on the go.
Yeah, he had both. He had the arm round the shoulder potentially for a certain player who needed it, and then maybe come out. I remember with Joe Cole, and he would come out and sort of prod him a little bit and get Coley because he wanted him to work harder defensively and stuff like that. And he could do both sides of that motivation.
I seem to remember him identifying you when he first came in, saying that you were probably the best midfield player if not Europe, in the world.
Yeah.
And that was huge praise indeed. You watch from the outside, these managers, they say things, you feel you've turned the corner.
Well, he won 6 times at Old Trafford. I mean,
there's not many can do that. I only managed 5.
But it was brilliant because I obviously wasn't the best midfield player in the world, but he said it to me and he made me sort of feel a little bit taller. Yeah, definitely.
You felt it. Loads of messages coming in. Question for all the guys, actually. Who was better? One word answer, please, says Wahid. Keane or Vieira?
Vieira, for me, I don't think he's a player that gets anywhere near the credit he deserves. You talk about Bergkamp and Henry, but without Vieira giving them the ball, they would be nothing.
Keane for influence for me.
Keane for me, for all-round influence in game.
OK, Gennady says tonight on Premier League Tonight is Comedy Gold. Johnny's enjoying the one-liners from Rio. Christopher saying, brilliant viewing. Ferdinand, Keown and Lamps, top draw, #Pizzagate. Mick is enjoying you reminiscing about the good old days. Thomas says this is literally the perfect way to end a Saturday of football. Dave also says it's a Comedy Gold with you 3 tonight. Can you get them together every week? Do you fancy doing this every week? Not just every now and then.
We're invited,
Very non-committal, weren't they? Did you notice that? And Diz Armour, my first time watching Premier League tonight. I'm loving it. Before we go to the break, we ran a poll earlier. We asked you about the greatest moment, as far as you're concerned, in this rivalry between Manchester United and Arsenal. What's been your favourite memory? Thousands of votes for this one, and the winning moment was
Giggs.
With 44% Ryan Giggs' FA Cup magic. That remarkable run and goal. What have you got to say about that, Martin?
Well, I did say that Andy Cole made a fantastic run, took me out of the line of the ball. Probably my fault.
Not your fault?
No, it's probably my fault that he runs on and scores that goal, and you look back, you can't change it. And every time I'm wondering, what am I doing, falling on my backside, trying to tackle with my left foot. But, Andy Cole makes a really good run, takes me off the line.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. It
wasn't your fault, it was Andy Cole's fault.
We did have a penalty in the 90 minutes.
Oh, it's gone.
Basically. No.